The vis is your life force. Do you let it do what it's trying to do? Vis Medicatrix Naturae is one of the governing principles of naturopathic medicine. It means the healing power of nature. Welcome to Mental Fortress Mondays. I am Dr. Cheryl Carthouse, naturopathic doctor, and this morning we're talking about the healing power of nature. The idea that your body actually is always trying to do the best thing for it, and how our mindset is a really, really important part of that. So as a governing principle in naturopathic medicine, that healing power that we have, a will or a desire for all of your cells to always be doing exactly what they need to be doing in order to heal, in order to get you in a better place of health, it's always a focus. We always want to understand what that direction is that your body's doing. And then from that point, we can actually go in to understand what are the physiological pathways, what is causing these things. And then in that way, we can actually address the root cause of whatever it is in terms of a health condition or a health concern that's going on. It's always about doing what is best to go along with that healing power and to go along with the body's will to go in a particular direction. If we give the body all of the right tools, then it can actually start to do the things that it needs to do and actually get you in a more of a healthy range. So the way that I think of the body is actually like a soup, sort of. So if all of your cells are sitting in this soup, the way that our body works is that it responds to the environment. So whatever soup it is that your body is sitting in, that your cells are kind of marinating in, is how we respond, which is actually the same thing about our minds. A lot of people talk about marinating in positive thought or marinating in something in particular. And the more we're exposed to it, the more we respond in that way or to those messages. And so the same thing with your cells. If they're marinating in this soup of health versus a soup of inflammation, they respond to that. It's like someone sitting there kind of giving them messages all day or even yelling at them all day. How are you going to respond to that? It depends on what messages are being sent to you. So the mission is to actually change the soup that your cells sit in order to have them respond in a different way. And the idea that your body's always trying to do the best thing, I think is a little bit unconventional, I guess we'll say. That we think if it's a particular autoimmune disease or if we have an overgrowth of yeast in our body or whatever it might be, that our body's actually going against us in a way. Let me explain and give you some examples as to how that's not really true. So with autoimmune disease, we can have certain triggers and things that perpetuate that process, kind of like the whole soup and the message thing, but on different levels as well. And something like eating gluten can actually further stimulate particular types of autoimmune issues, especially thyroid issues, but also other autoimmune kinds of things, because there's certain aspects of gluten and wheat itself that actually trigger further response. So we can actually do a lot in terms of our diet, nutrition, and all that kind of stuff in order to help the soup that our cells sit in and get them into a better place. Another example is yeast. Yeast actually is a normal commensal flora of our body. It's on our skin, it's on our mucous membranes, it's in lots of different areas, and we need it there. It does good things for us. One of the things it does really well for us is actually sequester heavy metals. It means that if you have exposure to heavy metals, like being outside in the environment, there's lots of cadmium in cigarette smoke, there's lots of heavy metals in gas that we just breathe in the fumes, and then you might have other exposures as well. Maybe it's from work or whatever it might be. So if you have these heavy metal exposures, yeast actually kind of engulfs them and protects the rest of your body from those heavy metals so that they don't get into your brain or into other sensitive tissue. So then our body allows the yeast to grow more and to overgrow in order to protect us and allow it to there to be more so it can go further and sequester all these heavy metals, and then they can be safe. essentially. So it's allowing your body to be safer from a more deadly exposure, or an exposure that's going to get you further sick. Kind of interesting. When we listen and when we really try and understand some of those things, sometimes we get the information and we can. And in other ways, maybe we just need to trust that there's a particular pathway the body's going down, and understanding all of the ins and outs about that particular pathway and the inflammation, we can actually do so much more to benefit it. So aside from this physical side, our mind is a large component of healing. And when we want to go in terms of, along with this healing power of nature, we really need to get our mindset in a good place, and really just, maybe we need to rely on it a little bit more in terms of our health. A lot of people have maybe heard this stat that placebos help to, or it can be 30% effective. That means that 30% of the time, if someone were to take a placebo over a different type of drug or supplement or whatever it is, they will get better simply from taking that placebo, because the power of the mind is amazing. There are certain antidepressant drugs that only have a 20% efficacy in that sense. And so taking a placebo pill can actually be even more effective than certain drugs. And so I don't think we rely on this necessarily as much as we really should. And when you can capitalize on that, it can be amazing. We can change things just from having our mindset change. And that kind of brings us to a point of identifying with whatever it is that is going on. Often if people have different types of chronic illness that we carry with us, that we start to identify with them, especially if it's been a really hard struggle to get any help or attention in terms of how you're feeling. And we want to try and keep your mindset, or the idea is to keep a mindset in a healing space so that it can constantly do the work that it needs to do, so that we can bring ourselves to a much better place in order to continue that healing. Because if we can rely on that placebo, if we could all get our minds to just trust a placebo that much more and take whatever it is and then heal from it, that would be amazing. When we get our mindset changed a little bit as well, there are some doctors who advocate that our physical health will change. And I've seen this in lots of different respects, specifically with pain, with different types of even structural issues that bodies can have, that we can actually change these through some of our mindset. Joe Dispenza has a lot of different types of meditation based on health and physical healing through meditation, just as one example. So you can check out his stuff if you'd like as well, just for some further information or some further guidance on that. And then the other component of how our mind plays into this is when we have benefits from an illness. And we don't often think or understand all of the different components that might actually have made us sick in the first place. If we're doing things in our lifestyle every day, we're eating and drinking particular things, we have a particular routine, we're going to end up in this particular place, or we have ended up in this particular place from all of the contributing factors. We want to try and switch those factors as best that we can so that we can actually start to shift that environment. And understanding what benefits we carry with us to be in that state is really important. So if you're sick and you have someone caring for you and you're starting to get a lot of attention from them that maybe you haven't gotten before, that's a benefit. And so recognizing that can be really helpful, because it might be a component of that illness or what's going on that you don't want to let go of. Or maybe their particular patterns of eating, or even a mindset of, well, I have to eat these things because they're good for me, that maybe actually aren't good for you anymore. For example, I sometimes tell people not to eat salad because it can be really hard on the digestive system. And if there are things going on there, we want to lighten the load up for the digestive system and switch things over. So sometimes we have these patterns or these ways of thinking or these frameworks even for eating and how we go about life that kind of don't fit with the idea of health that we want, given that it served us up until this point to get us exactly to where we are. And now we want to be able to switch that into something that is healthier. And for all of that guidance, I do this in my practice. You can see a naturopathic doctor locally, and just explore other avenues of understanding health and things that you can do more for yourself in that way. And that being in mind, I'd like to invite you to join me in a meditation practice as we get our mindset in a mode where we can let go of a lot of the stresses and a lot of the built up tensions that we've had in our body over time. We actually can also start to heal on an emotional level, and often this can be the root cause of some of our illnesses. The Body Keeps the Score. I love the title of that book because it can be so powerful in really understanding all of the things that our body will do for us. In addition, it carries our emotional load when we are not able to do that in a particular time or state, or if it's very traumatic. So we carry that. And so through meditation, we can get ourselves into a good mindset for the day, but we also can start to let go of some of these things that our body stores, particularly when they're longer types of meditation. I encourage everyone to look into Vipassana, although there may be still some closures these days. And if you're curious about any of these other things, just continue to meditate every day. Ask me questions. I'm happy to fill in any voids here of understanding if you guys have them. So you can get comfortable. And just start by paying attention to your breath. You can keep your eyes open or close them, whatever is most comfortable for you. When we close our eyes, it stops further distraction. And so it can be helpful in some ways. And just pay attention to your breath moving in through your nostrils and out through your nostrils. And feeling the sensation on the upper lip, just below your nose, in that little triangle. And often just staying here for a minute or two can really help the nervous system to calm down. And the idea of this meditation this morning is just to pay attention to your breath exactly as it is. Sometimes we can engage in breathing exercises for a particular purpose that help to calm the nervous system in a different way. And this morning, we're just paying attention to it exactly as it is, without judgment, without trying to change anything. Noticing your breath as it goes in. Maybe you feel your lungs inflate and your body move. And noticing as it goes out, just everything around your breath that you can notice. And sometimes it's best just to stay here and stay with your breath. Let your mind wander. Bring it back. If it wanders, bring it back. Often we can pay attention to the breath, and our mind can still be going to some degree. It might still be thinking about different things, but you're really still paying attention to your breath. And if you find that it wanders too much, you can just bring it back again. And again, the important bit is to not place judgment on anything that you experience. Don't label it and try to understand or think this is why I'm breathing heavy or I'm breathing soft or this is why I feel this sensation. Just allow it to be exactly as it is. Even boredom is a sensation, and it's a feeling that we end up getting uncomfortable with that we don't necessarily want to stay with, and so we quit early. If you get bored or frustrated, just bring your attention back to your breath. If you can set your mind to it and focus on it for those first 5 seconds, you can do it the whole time. It just takes that reorienting every time to bring back to your breath, to continue to breathe, continue to notice all of those little bits. Moment to moment we change, and so one breath is never exactly the same as the other, although the differences are going to be extremely subtle. See if you can notice those. Just be curious about it. Often when we want to shift our seat or move around or feel like, again, that sense of boredom or distraction, it's because there's something uncomfortable in our body. Just kind of let it be. And bring your attention back to your breath. And feeling that sensation between your nostrils and your upper lip as it goes in, and then notice when it changes and it starts to go out. Just noticing your breath. And really giving ourselves the time to do this is one of the most important things, because sometimes we want to rush through, and the rushing doesn't allow our nervous system to kind of catch up with us. So just give yourself that time and space this morning, and whenever you need it. Just allow your breath to move in and out exactly as it is, without trying to change it, without any judgments. And just see what kind of wisdom comes up for you this morning with that. We can figure out these new understandings sometimes about our own reactions. We can even decrease the reactivity that we have by allowing ourselves to let go of some of those sensations and being comfortable with some of this uncomfortable sensations that we experience. And if you can do that here in a quiet and safe space, you can do it much better in other places in your life. And just still noticing your breath as it comes in and as it moves out. And breathing in and breathing out. And if you get bored, bring your mind back to that focus of understanding the sensations that your breath is making. Just trying to notice and concentrating all your energy on trying to notice what's different from breath to breath. Just as a way of exploring and as being curious without judging. And sometimes just focusing on one thing, like your breath, as opposed to the body scan, can be really grounding if our mind is super busy. So just noticing your breath as it comes in and noticing your breath as it goes out, and all of the sensations that it might bring up between your nostrils and your upper lip, that little triangle. Maybe noticing to your body as it moves with your breath going in and out, without placing judgment, and just being curious. And then when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Often wiggling your fingers and toes helps to bring you back to the moment and to reality. Thank you so much for joining here on Mental Fortress Mondays. I would love to hear if anyone has comments or questions or anything else you want to hear about in terms of naturopathic medicine, or any struggles that you're having with your meditative practice. Don't hesitate to leave a comment, and I will be happy to cover those topics to the best of my ability during our Mental Fortress Mondays. Have a fantastic week. Happy summer days, everyone in Halifax, in Nova Scotia, and everywhere else that it's from. Have a good day.